welcome everybody to Tales from the Backlog, a top 3 podcast, The Tube, V.I.P, Patron Hour. Well, that's what we're going to call this, Patron Hour. I just made that up right now. So this is the bonus episodes that patrons of The Tube at the $10 per month or higher level get to do a bonus episode of their choosing. And my guest today is one of the OG supporters of The Tube, way from back when it was just a top 3 podcast. Tales from the Backlog was just a mere wink in Dave's eye. And we'll let that analogy sit for a minute while you think about that. But welcome on the show, Chris Nelson, who's been a guest on a top 3 podcast and Tales from the Backlog a couple times, maybe 3 total times. So thank you, Chris, and welcome to the Patron Hour.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I guess, I've been a top 3, and I was on Tales twice.
Yeah, we did Mega Man X, and we did Blasphemous. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for Blasphemous, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude, me too. And today we are coming at you with a video game topic. So the way that these bonus episodes work is that patrons at that level get to choose a topic that they want to do a bonus podcast about. It can be a topic, it can be a top 3, it can be a tier list, it can be, desert island games or whatever you want to talk about. And Chris has chosen a top 3 today. So Chris, can you tell everybody, what are we going to be talking about?
I kind of decided on this topic because actually I think I might have even put it on the Discord at one point, but it's your top 3 video game items that are too good to use.
Hell yeah.
I think it's kind of a pretty typical trope in like the gaming community, and I think it's even got a page on TV Tropes. So
does it?
we're making it in the world.
Shit, I should have done some TV Tropes research. I was going just straight off the dome for this one. So I take it, since this is the topic that you chose, I take it that when you play video games, you hoard items until the perfect time, and then the game ends and you didn't use those items, right?
Yeah, pretty typically. I can't think of... Well, right now I'm playing Eastward, and yeah. I hoard my cooking items pretty heavily, because I'm like, well, it restores 6 hearts, and I only need 4 hearts, but it also has like an ammo like upgrade or whatever. You use less ammo and an energy upgrade, and I'm like, I might need that later.
Yeah, I find myself getting that mindset in Eastward too, where it's like you said, I'm down 4 hearts, but this thing heals 6 hearts, so I'm not going to use it until I get hit again. But then when I actually do get hit again, I forgot that I have it, and it's a whole thing. And the game's not that hard. I don't need to do this to myself. This isn't survival horror or something like that. So, we all do this. A couple of mine are going to be very representative of me as a gamer with consumable items, a habit that I'm just like trying so hard to break myself of. But we will get into the list. So I'm going to get us started. I'll go first, and then you'll finish this out. So
sounds good.
I'm going to get started with a game that I know both of us have played, which is Bloodborne. And we can kind of extend this to all of the From Software games because they all have items that are analogous at the very least. But the one I chose for my number 3 is fire paper and bolt paper in Bloodborne. And it's this like thing in these games where I hoard them because I'm like, there's going to be a tough boss. I'm going to need this bolt paper. And then when I'm fighting the boss, I'm like, I don't want to use the bolt paper because I'm going to die and I'm going to waste it. And then by the time I'm actually like good enough to beat the boss, I don't need the bolt paper anymore. So I just end the game with like 35 of them. It happens to me every time I play these games. So I know you played Bloodborne. Was this your experience with these two?
Yeah. Bloodborne for sure with like, bolt paper more. I think I used fire paper because you got it, I think, a little bit earlier.
You do get it earlier. Yeah.
Let's try that out a bunch to see how it goes. But I don't know. Most games anymore, or ever, I guess, anything that does like buff, like item buffs, I don't know if it's too good to use or if I just completely forget about it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you end up like brute forcing it, like you said, kind of just you get so good at fighting the boss, you're like, oh yeah, I guess I didn't really need that. And you probably could have got it done earlier if you actually utilized the items that the game is providing for
Yeah,
you.
100%. It would have taken me a half hour less to beat Orphan of Kos if I actually just used the bolt paper instead of saving it for the perfect attempt, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I always galaxy brain myself out of actually using those items because they are really good. Like they do make a significant difference against some of the bosses, especially fire paper against those early bosses, those beasts. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my number 3, fire paper, bolt paper, but you can extend this to like gold pine resin in Dark Souls. It's the exact same thing. I never use it. I should, but I don't. So what's your number 3, Chris?
My number 3 is it's called Holy War in Final Fantasy VIII,
Okay.
and it makes your party invulnerable for a set amount of rounds. I think it's somewhat random.
Whoa. Okay.
So it's really good on fighting those like mega bosses. But the
Hmm.
thing is, I think it's on the too good to use list for me because I think without exploiting anything, which I think is like the story of Final Fantasy VIII, is find out how to exploit the game to make it playable easier.
Uh
But
huh. Playable. Nice Freudian
playable.
slip there.
Whoops. But you can only like I think mug it from Cypher in like the 2 fights. Like I think it's fight 3 and 4,
Oh, okay.
and then I think you can like it's a really rare item, so that's why to me I think it landed on the list.
Right.
Even though it's kind of obscure, it's it's super powerful and it's kind of rare. So I don't think I don't even remember if I think I had one. Or well, there's a weaker version of it I think that you get that's like cheaper. I think I
Okay.
had those because I didn't know to like mug Cipher or whatever when I played the game when I was, I don't know, 12 or something.
Yeah, that's stuff you need the strategy guide to tell you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't played that far in Final Fantasy VIII, but Final Fantasy is definitely something that has an item that's on my list too. But yours is way better than the one that I picked, and I think it does fit better into that too good to use. If there's only like 1 or 2 available in the entire game, then yeah, 100%. I would get that and I would hoard it, and then the game would be over. At least in Final Fantasy, like if you use it against the mega boss and then you die, then you restart at the checkpoint and you still have the item, right?
Yeah, that's always nice
Yeah.
in that older RPG where
Yeah.
you were hard saved.
Hmm. Yeah. It's like with the bolt paper and the From Software items, they're gone
Mm-hmm.
forever once you use them. You can like grind up and go buy more, but I don't want to do that. So yeah, that's a good pick. My number 2 is actually from Final Fantasy, and it is the Mega Elixir, which they're pretty rare too. I don't know that you can actually just buy them anywhere, or, you know, at least in the games that I've played recently, I never saw them for sale. And you might find, I don't know, 5 throughout the game. Like you don't find a ton of them. And for those who didn't play Final Fantasy, Mega Elixir heals all HP and magic for your entire party. So it's like a complete heal of the party. And I never use them because they're so good. I always like, even if I'm in a boss fight and having a hard time, I either forget about them entirely or I'm like, well, you know, the next boss is going to be harder than this one. Maybe I shouldn't use it against this boss. The next one, that's when I'm going to need it. And then I get to the end of the game, haven't used it. So that's my number 2 Mega Elixirs from most Final Fantasy games, I think, have these.
Yeah, that might have ended up on my list, but in a different game. So
A different game. Okay.
yeah, we'll talk about it kind of in a different sense
Sure.
probably later on. I guess there's only
Yeah.
3 of them, so
I also like when I'm playing Final Fantasy, I also get in a habit because by the time you get to the end of the game, the white mages are so good that I often just like forget that I have really awesome healing items and just kind of put it all in the white mage and only use items if the white mage dies. So yeah, I have probably left more mega elixirs in the bank than I've actually used them, like in all Final Fantasy games combined that I've played. So yeah, that's my number 2. What's your number 2?
my number 2 is the escape rope from Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
Now, I feel like it's one of the ones that's maybe more too stubborn to use because you're like at the bottom of a cave and all your Pokemon are about dead and you have no idea. You've been lost in there for a long because you're like 10 and you don't know how cave maps work.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you could just escape rope and go to town and you're good to go. But I'm like, well, no, I can make it out. I can make it out. I can use this Pokemon that I barely ever use. You know, it's this rock type that I caught here in this rock dungeon, and I'm just gonna hit rocks with other rocks until I get out. So again, maybe not too good to use, but definitely like too stubborn to use
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And it is a really good item.
Say, it is. I was going to say there's like a point of pride with those because I rarely use them too. And there's a bunch of times when it's like, all my Pokemon are, running out of power points or they got status effects going on. And it would just be easier to escape rope out and start the dungeon over because you can probably get back to where you were. Like, yeah, the thing with those old, especially the old Pokemon caves and stuff, none of them were that big. They just seemed really big because I was 10.
Yeah.
And so I used those, like I used Pokemon that had dig. Like I always made sure I had a Pokemon that had dig, even though I had 15 escape ropes in my inventory. Never used the escape ropes. So yeah, that's a good call.
It kind of goes back to that whole thing you were talking about with like the white mage. Like why would this is a consumable item. It goes away.
Yeah.
My Pokemon's abilities can eventually be restored and my mage's MP can be restored. It's like, but the item goes away and I gotta keep it in my inventory.
Yeah. Never mind the fact that I have 15 escape ropes and there are only like 7 dungeons in the whole game. That doesn't matter. It's
no.
little kid logic for sure.
I need them.
It never and with all these items, it never really occurred to me while I'm playing them a lot of times that like the people who made these games balance the number of items that are in the game. Like all of those caves give you escape ropes. You find them in all of those, Mount Moon and Rock Tunnel and stuff. And by the time you get into some that could be confusing, like the Seafoam Islands in Pokemon Red and Blue, you have found Pokemon that can learn dig. You should have like 10 escape ropes. You'll be fine. But yeah, I would rather walk around lost and confused than actually just use the item.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like a mentality of like a kid. Like you're like the game is against you. You're trying to beat the game. When when you think about it, it's like, well, the game developer wants you to continue to play their game. So they're probably going to set it up so it works for you to continue to play.
Yeah. And now we're at the point, now I'm like 34 years old. And if I get into a cave in Pokemon and I'm like, well, I've never used escape ropes my whole life. I'm not starting now. Like, what am I, some kind of asshole? I'm going to, I'm going to be miserable for 15 minutes instead. That's what real men do.
Yeah, boomer Pokemon over here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You kids with your infinite escape ropes. I don't know if they have that, but yeah. There's someone out there mad about that.
I'm sure. pull themselves up from their Pokemon bootstraps.
Yeah, your running shoe straps.
There you go.
Speaking of Pokemon, my
Nope.
number one is also from Pokemon, and it's the Master Ball.
Oh, yeah.
And this one actually is too good to use. If this is the best item. For those who haven't played or not familiar, the Master Ball will catch any Pokemon 100%. And I get into this, it's another pride thing, where when I find a legendary Pokemon, I just save before it, and then I try to catch it the old-fashioned way, because it's a kind of a fun challenge to try to catch Mewtwo or something like that with an Ultra Ball. Or kids at school used to come to school and be like, I caught Mewtwo in a Great Ball. And they're like, oh, really? I caught him in a Pokeball. And it was this little kid dick measuring contest. It was really great. So I'm always in this habit of just not using the Master Ball, and I will finish my time playing Pokemon games without using the Master Ball because it's too good. And I actually like the challenge of trying to catch the legendaries the old-fashioned way, and I haven't used the Master Ball in like the last 3 or 4 games I played. Because it's, like I said, it's the ultimate item in Pokemon. And when I was a little kid, actually, also my first red and blue file, I used the Master Ball on a sand shrew. So
What?
fun. Because I didn't know what it did. Like I must have been like not paying attention when they explained it, if they explained it. And I saw a sand shrew and I was like, ooh, Master Ball, I'll throw that. And then it was gone. So
On a sand shrew. See, I haven't played, honestly, I don't think I've completed a Pokemon game since Yellow.
okay.
So, and I had a guide for when I played Red and Red. I think I had Red originally.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like aware of the existence of Mewtwo. And I mean, I think everybody kind of was, but like, when the Master Ball was explained, and it was like, well, I definitely got to save it for that because I 100% want to catch him because he's like the coolest Pokemon ever. I mean, dude's got a movie.
Yeah.
So I definitely used the Master Ball, but like I said, I haven't really completed one yet. So I'm assuming they still just basically dole out one of them to you per game.
Yeah, it's just one.
Yeah.
And they introduced mechanics in later games where you could like win another one. Like Gold and Silver had this weird like radio show contest where you could I think you could win a Master Ball in that. And I think some other games have introduced like ways to get another one, but the story always gives you one.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I'm definitely, like I said, I'm way behind on my Pokemon games.
yeah. Was your first Pokemon run through like were you using the guide the whole time, or was it a mess like mine until you started using the guide when you were a kid?
I think I basically begged my grandma to buy me the guide when I was about halfway through the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah, the first half was pretty much a mess. Like I don't think there was I don't even know if I like strategized which Pokemon would like synergize with your team best.
Oh
like,
no.
It was just like, well, this guy's cool looking. I want
Yeah,
him.
exactly. Yeah, my first run through, I used my Charizard and only my Charizard for the whole game. It ended the game at like level 79 or something. Everything else was like the level that I caught it at. I used all the good TMs on just random Pokemon. I taught my Charizard a bunch of bullshit moves that sounded cool, but were not actually good because Gen 1, the moves that the Pokemon learned were like ridiculous. At high levels doesn't necessarily mean they were good moves. So it was just a total mess. And using the Master Ball on something that wasn't Mewtwo was part of that.
I just can't imagine like the realization afterward. And then you're like looking at your inventory and I don't think back then, because I know in more recent games, like in your menu and when you throw it, they maintain the ball that they were in. But back
Yeah.
then, I don't even know if they did.
No.
So I guess you didn't have that kind of glaring reminder, like every time you opened your menu, like, hey, Dave, you're fucking stupid.
Yeah. You better use that sand shrew now. You can't just put it in the computer.
He better be a sand slash, and he better be the fucking best sand slash there is.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. All right. So that was my number one, the Master Ball. What's your number one?
Okay, so I kind of alluded to it earlier, but my number one is a Mega Elixir, but from the Super Mario RPG series, maybe?
Yeah.
I guess, well, I mean, technically there was only one that was there only one that was labeled Super Mario RPG? The rest were just...
I think so. The rest were the Mario and Luigi games, I think.
And then but part of the reason I picked it is because the bottle's shaped like a little froggy.
Oh.
And you or you can buy it from the juice shop, I think it is, or something like that. Juice bars.
Uh-huh.
So it's not super like rare. It is definitely like good to use because it does 150 like heart points across the whole party, which is like pretty crazy in that game.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think you can just buy it. It's like, I can't remember like the conversion rate of stuff, but I popped over to the page over here. It was 90 coins. I don't remember if 90 coins was a lot or not. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
But one of the main reasons is, like I said, I had to put a Mega Elixir on there because I feel like it's the quintessential, like, too good to use item. It's like,
Yeah.
almost a full restore generally for everybody in your party. It's like, it's kind of the ultimate oh shit button. Like, some bad stuff just happened and everybody's about to die. So I need to get something out that maybe like I said, your mage type, your white mage character is not going to be able to get everybody back up before the next super move comes in through a boss. So, but I picked out the Mario one. I'm gonna say it's not because it's shaped like a frog, but it's definitely because it's shaped like a frog.
Yeah, we know. That might explain why our friend Aaron Engel likes that game so much. I didn't know it was shaped like a frog. I didn't get that far in Super Mario RPG, but I can tell from my experience that game was not that easy, so I can tell why that would be super valuable. And plus also it looks like a frog. And to use the item, you imagine yourself smashing this bottle that looks like a cute frog. Like, I don't want to do that.
I don't know, maybe. Like, just hold it up in the air and smash the frog over your head and feel the frog juice
smash
and
it directly into your forehead. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of blasphemous.
Yeah. Just like the guy in Blasphemous. That has to be the best way for any video game character to use their healing item is for people who haven't played. He takes his flasks, which are full of bile, healing bile, because blasphemous, and just smashes them directly into his forehead. It's great.
Yeah, just beat the healing into your face.
Yeah.
fits everything in that game, aesthetically, tone.
Oh,
yeah. It works.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I want to give a high five to everybody who was a part of all like creative artistic decisions in that game. Woo.
Smart.
All right. So we had the, let's see. Let's go through your list again, your top three, just as a kind of recap.
Okay. So, my number 3 was Holy War, specifically from Final Fantasy VIII. And it, super rare, hard to get item that negates all damage for, a few rounds. Like I said, I don't know if I ever know exactly how many it was, but it's definitely like a super powered item. Escape ropes from the Pokemon series was my number 2 because, like I said, I don't know if that one might be more too stubborn to use, but I definitely always had like all of them. And then my number 1 going back, Frog Mega Elixir from Super Mario RPG.
Right on. So my top 3 was any of the items that puts elemental damage on your weapon in From Software games like fire paper, bolt paper, pine resin, stuff like that. My number 2 was Mega Elixirs, but from Final Fantasy. And my number 1 was the Master Ball, which will catch any Pokemon without fail.
Even a Sandshrew.
Even a Sandshrew, yeah. I have a couple of honorable mentions. And another one from Pokemon is just any good TM. People who haven't played Pokemon or maybe forgot, TMs teach your Pokemon a move, but they used to be single use up until a couple of generations ago. So once you used them, they were gone forever. And maybe you could buy them at the department store, but if they were, if they're not one of like 10 that they sold at the department store, they're gone forever. And my first playthrough, I wasted a bunch of the really good TMs on shitty Pokemon. So I taught the last gym leader in Pokemon Red gives you the TM for Fissure, which is a one-hit KO move, and I taught that to a Sandshrew because it could learn it. And yeah, but it was like level 30. I couldn't use it against the Elite Four or anything like that. And yeah, I think I did a similar thing with the TM for Earthquake, which is like one of the best moves in Pokemon. So I went through a long period of time where if I got a good TM, I would save it for the perfect Pokemon and then just not use it. So weird behavior. My other too good to use item is in RPGs when you get a scroll that's a single use, like a badass spell scroll, like in Morrowind had a bunch of these. Divinity Original Sin games have a bunch of these, and I always save them for the perfect moment because they're very good spells, and then just, finish the game. And it's like, oh, I had 65 scrolls in my inventory. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, probably more Skyrim, but I always ended up with like a bunch of different potions and like
Oh yeah.
scrolls and things like that. Another one was the like portable nukes, the mini nukes in Fallout.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I never used them because I was like, they're just like, it does so much, and it like you can end up hurting yourself too. And I was like, well, I could like, there's 3 super mutants over there. I could probably take them out with like my hammer instead of using the nuke. Like,
Yeah.
I probably can get away with it.
Are you talking about Fallout 3 or like New Vegas, or are you talking about the older ones?
Definitely like the New Vegas, and like I don't know if I played 3, but yeah, where you get the little like it's like on a rail gun kind of thing, and
yeah, it's like called like the Fat Boy launcher or something like that. Yeah.
And
I did the exact same thing, and I held on to those nukes so long because enemies in those games scale with your level. So like you get to a point where the mini nukes don't actually kill stuff in one hit anymore. So it's like, well, I just basically save these for no reason.
Yeah. And then this one was, like I said, I don't know if it's an item. It's also kind of just another, it's munition, but it's the military grade rounds from Metro, because they were actually like, I think they were used as like currency as well.
Okay.
So like you could use it in your gun, and it worked better than like the shitty ammunition you would pick up on the ground. But it was also utilized as like said as like the good money basically. So it's like that definitely feels like a too good to use type item. Like I don't know if you ever played any of the Metro games.
No, I was going to ask you, like, are they good?
Yeah.
I've only heard the Good, the Bad, and the Backlog did an episode on a couple of those games, and they sounded like the story could be cool, but I never played them.
Yeah, it's definitely it's it kind of landed in that era of the third person or first person uh, shooter type with like a zombie like enemy kind of
Hmm.
thing. So I think it got mixed up, and it's based on I think a series of books maybe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean it's interesting because like I said, it kind of runs a little bit with like the conserving ammunition kind of thing. Like you're definitely not like just um like Call of Duty pew pew and everything. You're definitely like a little bit more methodic in how you go through the game.
Hmm.
So getting those military grade munitions can be like a life saving kind of measure in certain circumstances. Like I gotta get out. I gotta get back because there's also like a a radiation type mechanic. So it's like I gotta get back fast, and I could use my military ammo and take enemies out a little faster, or I use my crappy ammo and it's gonna take me longer to get back, and I might not make it at all.
Hmm.
So it definitely kind of adds um, a cool mechanic to that. I'm not exactly survival horror, but you know the ammunition conservation aspect of that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I'm not sure that I've ever heard of another game where like your ammo would also be a currency, and you have that trade off. That's a pretty cool trade off. Is there like special stuff that you can only buy with that ammo, or does it just like go into the general currency pool?
Um, I don't fully recall.
Okay.
I know there is another form of currency,
Right.
and
Okay.
I feel like yeah maybe just I think the military grade was just like maybe like I don't know in D&D terms a platinum compared to a gold.
Yeah. So yeah, that is, I can definitely see how you would hoard that. But at least with that one, if you're not using it, you actually do have another use for it. You can buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike all of these other items that we just finished the game with them in our inventory, um, looking at me like, Dave, why didn't you could have, like I said, you could have beat the blood-starved beast way faster if you just used that fire paper, dude. Come on.
Yeah. So that you can buy the really good items with your military grade ammo and then not use those.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a cycle that repeats from game to game and generation to generation. Um, what do you think, Chris? Are you getting better about this, about using these consumable items, or do you still find yourself hoarding them?
Well, like I said at the top of the episode in Eastward, I'm still kind of doing it, but
Yeah.
um, I feel like I've been playing games recently in a different fashion. I haven't been as like completionist. I haven't been nearly as like do every quest. Like I kind of want to get through a game now because I get kind of precious time to do so. So it's
Hmm.
like, what's the risk reward kind of if I did every single little thing in the game compared to you know getting through a game, enjoying the experience, and getting to move on to a new one. So I think I'm a little better. I don't know, maybe not as better as I should be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm starting to like improve with it too, but I'm definitely still hoarding items. Like the most recent From Software game I played was Elden Ring, and I used the consumables in that game, but I think it was because you could craft new ones in that game, so I never
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was like wasting them.
Yeah.
Um, so who knows? Next time I play Bloodborne, maybe I'll use all those papers.
Yeah.
Or I want to play Sekiro soon, and
Uh,
Sekiro has a bunch of those items. That game's way harder, so the pressure to not waste them is even higher in
yeah.
that game. So we'll see. We'll see if I've actually changed as a person or if I'm still just being a hoarder. Yeah.
Yeah. Sekiro was the game that made me decide that I'm not playing hard video games until um, I
Yeah.
can really dedicate 6 8 hours in front of a TV or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah. you're not the first person to say that, and you won't be the last one. That game, it's a real bastard. So yeah, top 3 items that were too good to use. This has been a good time. Good chat. Good looking back through some of these games in our memories. I noticed a lot of them, at least for me, and I think for you too, are games that we played a while ago, are games that we have a lot of experience with, Pokemon, Final Fantasies, From Software for me, stuff like that. So maybe those habits start really young and they just don't die.
Yeah, I think that is kind of an interesting take on it because, yeah, most of the ones that immediately popped to my head were games I probably played as like a kid. Mm-hmm. So maybe as you get older, it's either stuck in your brain and you gotta fight your bad habits, I guess. I don't know. It's all about growth, Dave.
People can change.
People can't.
I used to be a piece of shit.
Sloppy steaks every night.
Oh man, this has been a good time. Thank you for coming on, and thank you again. Thank you for supporting the podcasts in every form that you've done it for the whole time that we've been doing the podcasts. Again, I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely worth buying. Whatever, $10 a month to get. Weekly, sometimes twice weekly entertainment that, I drive a lot for work. So it's like 2-3 hours in the car is real easy when you're listening to something that interests you. And I don't think I've ever listened to an episode where you had a guest on that I didn't like. I'm like, oh, I can't handle this person.
Yeah. I've been real lucky. I've had like 50 different people on the show and not one shithead or like super boring guest. It's been really great. I'm on a hot streak, and now that I say it out loud, no, I'm just kidding. I know I got good guests coming up too, and we'll have you back on the show. I've enjoyed talking to you about both of the games we talked about, and then the top 3 episode was a lot of fun. Top 3 bands we slept on. Was it bands we slept on or slept on in high school? I don't remember the full.
I think we just kind of went with slept on, but a lot of it defaulted to high school just because.
Yeah, because everyone had big opinions for no reason in high school.
we were all real shitty, pretentious assholes.
Yeah. Certainly none of us are shitty, pretentious assholes now. We're all very cool people now.
For sure.
All right. So thank you again, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And again, if you would like to participate in something like this is available at the $10 tier on patreon.com/realdavejackson. If $10 is too steep, there are cheaper tiers. And if you do not feel like supporting monetarily, that's totally cool. Support in any other way that you can, like telling a friend about podcasts that you like or leaving a rating and review on your favorite podcasting platform. So that is all. Tune in next time for the next one of these Patreon Hour episodes. See you later.